So the first question, I think, which is critical for the educational community is what makes a good UWC student? From my own experience, I saw such a diversity of backgrounds and capabilities that it's pretty hard for me to describe. I often struggle with my own understanding of what makes a good UWC student. It's academic for sure, but as I mentioned, it's a lot more than just that. And I'm really curious to know, we'll start this open with the panel. What do you think makes a good good, I'm going to struggle on that one all night, good UWC student? What do you think it was about you that made you a good candidate? And what did you observe amongst your peers that made them good candidates? I think, Abigail, do you want to sort of start on that one, or anyone else wants to jump in?
Yeah, happy to. So I heard about UWC. Well, I grew up with UWC students in and around me for my entire life since I was 6 years old. I was a host family for Pearson College in Metchosin, Vancouver Island. And what a host family means is that on weekends or holidays or anytime Pearson College students or UWC students needed a home to go to, my family opened up our home and they spent every Thanksgiving and Christmas and birthdays. Students were always around. And so I always looked up to and admired these students from all over the world. But I never pictured myself as one of them, just because I think I built these students up in my mind as being something special that I wasn't equal to in a way, because they were my role models from a very young age. And so I went to a summer short course at Pearson College, and it's just like a summer camp or like a miniature UWC experience called Pearson Seminar on Youth Leadership. And when I kind of realized that I had the opportunity to join this community in a different way, and realized that everything that I'd kind of built up in my head was really just something I built up in my head. And that the people that I admired, I also connected really well with. And on like a personal level and academic and just talking about everything, but also just laughing and having fun and playing music and just a wide variety of different relationships formed. And so it really was the realization that I had the opportunity to become a UWC student, and that it really wasn't one thing specifically that made a UWC student, and that I was able to apply and get accepted and go. And within my experience, I got to experience what it was to be a host student, which was really great. But I would also, identify the point that the UWC community is for students to have access to an incredible education. But it doesn't just mean the program for 2 years long going to a UWC. There's also short courses at United World Colleges throughout the world. And they are wonderful programs that also align with the UWC values.
Thanks. Anybody else? Lucy, go ahead.
3 things I just thought of now about what you could look for in a UWC student. We talk about diversity, so there's not really one type of student because you want different types of students, but I would say someone who's engaged in their learning and who wants more from their education and is seeking new opportunities, and someone who asks questions that other people are maybe afraid to ask or don't think to ask.
Yeah, thanks. Those are 2 words that I often sort of pull out of my experience, and I put them in sort of those air quotes. I talk about engaged and I talk about interesting. So you kind of need to be both of those things. You need to be interesting and engaged. Rachel, did you want to go if you unmute?
Yeah, one thing I just wanted to add to that is that it is important that we are engaged in our learning, but that doesn't mean that you have to be engaged in academics. I know plenty of people who did very well at UWC and really got a huge, like, benefited very much from UWC, and they, you know, hated math or hated a lot of structured classes, right? And so I think the very important thing is that you're passionate about something and you're engaged in learning more about something, and whether that's intercultural understanding or art or music. It doesn't just have to be academics.
Absolutely right. Well done. Thank you. Adriana, did you have, you wanted to sort of, I know you had some notes. I'm just.
Oh yeah. So mine is kind of along the same lines. I think during my time at UWC, I really learned that there isn't one kind of cookie cutter UWCer. I thought when I was like applying to UWC and when I got in that there was like this one type of student that they wanted, like somebody who was engaged academically and somebody who did a lot of extracurriculars and all of that stuff that we kind of brought up. But when I got there, I learned that what makes UWC really special is that everybody's very different and that there is not just one type of UWCer, and that people's passions are all over the place and that they share them with everybody else. And that's what makes it such a great environment to learn about new things and just to be with a great group of people.
Go ahead, Zarina. If you unmute.
Yeah, I was also just going to say that UWC students, I feel like all of them, like Adriana and Rachel said, are passionate, but they also like to be challenged. Like every UWC student I know like wants to be pushed further. They don't just want to, they don't think of like something being like, okay, I'm done with this. I can't go further. I can't improve. Every UWC student knows about improvement and wants to grow, not just like their education, but as a person. Like they're willing to open themselves up into new cultures, into new understandings, new perspectives. So especially even if you don't have a normal perspective on issues, you're not like cast away there. Every perspective is encouraged and every outlook of life is encouraged, and the way that you want to live your life is totally accepted through UWC. It doesn't matter if you're more academic side or more art side, or if you prefer sports, like every single way of life is encouraged and accepted in UWC, which I feel like is so beautiful.